Module 6 is right in the middle of two topics that we kind of overlap. Modules 5 and part of 6 deals with the history of education. And then we also begin looking at social and cultural factors that impact our kids and segue into diverse students, at-risk students in the next chapter. So this sort of overlaps the history portion and the social cultural portion of the course. You should be finished reading chapters 5, 6, and 7 by now, but if you're not quite done, we would ask you to wrap that up because there'll be a test on the history of education at the end of this module. And also it's a good time to start reading chapters 8, 9, and 10, which are the social and cultural chapters in the text. In this module, we're going to consider a few issues, and some of them you'll notice are still going to kind of come from a historical perspective, but they will now focus more on historical and cultural kinds of issues. One of those is a video that we're going to ask you to watch and an assignment that you'll have based on what KET calls Living the Story. It's a video about the civil rights movement in Kentucky. This actually is one of the assignments that students react to most strongly in EDF 203. And I think it's just because of how we handle the history and our own people's history as we kind of figure out why we did what we did in the past and come to some sort of an understanding about why things are the way they are in the present. Most of my students think that the civil rights movement took place someplace else. And a number of them have been surprised to learn that some of the events that they've been concerned about elsewhere might have even happened in their own hometowns. And so what we're going to ask you to do is reflect on those kinds of issues in this module. Along with that, you're going to be asked to consider a early 20th century school superintendent in Lexington named M.A. Cassidy. And Cassidy represents what's so difficult about dealing with issues related to race. If you look at what he did in one aspect, he appears to be a racist. You look at him from another point of view, and he probably did more to help African American students achieve equal treatment in the Fayette County schools than any superintendent that we can find elsewhere in the South. So it's a strange kind of a thing for us to figure out. And the article that you'll read called A Southern Progressive tries to show how whites in that time in our society tried to accommodate the ideas of white supremacy and scientific notions of African American inferiority into sort of a social gospel kind of a mix that created kind of a polite form of racism, you might say. And it was just indicative of where things were at that time. So very, very complex kind of a topic. It shouldn't set anybody on edge. This isn't about us, but it is about a very important aspect of how race plays into schools even today. We will be taking a look in our discussion board at charter schools. Kentucky doesn't have a charter school law. It's one of about 8 states that does not. And there are some historical reasons why Kentucky doesn't. We'll explore those a bit. But I'd like you to think about charter schools, whether they're a good idea, a bad idea, however you feel about them, understand a little better about what they are, and then we'll react to that in our discussion board this week. And don't forget, we've got the big test on history at the end of this module. It's the largest test in the course. We'll follow that up in future modules with the one on social and cultural aspects of schooling, and then we'll just close out this course looking at governance and factors related to that. All right, have a great module. Be successful.